What's going on, everybody? My name is D-Rel. This is Rel's Rants Reloaded. If you can, first of all, like everybody else on YouTube says, like, subscribe, and let's get started. What we go to talk about is what we go to revisit about sex trafficking and human trafficking, and we're going to talk about on social media what the face of sex trafficking and human trafficking is becoming. Pretty much on YouTube and Instagram and any media story outlet, when you hear the word sex trafficking, you're going to see mainly African American men. This is the narrative that they are switching to. Now, let me get this out the way first. Number one, I do not promote sex trafficking or human trafficking. I just want to bring a light to it of how the narrative and how the public will see people and certain demographics of people, especially African Americans, when you hear the word sex trafficker. Let's be clear, and a lot of the women that are online that's talking about sex trafficking and are reposting stuff that is being put on social media like Facebook are in their feelings and not thinking with logic. Now, with that being said, this sex trafficking, human trafficking thing is kind of it's a campaign that is kind of really misdirected to the real point. Like human trafficking is people, especially women and kids and boys too. Let's not leave them out. Getting kidnapped and taken and then trying to get put into situations where they're being forced into prostitution and stuff like this. What, especially in Atlanta, what they're doing is they're having a whole bunch of sting operations, and this was on the news. It's not something I'm making up. They're doing a whole bunch of sting operations on Johns picking up prostitutes. And they're busting Johns, they're busting prostitutes, they're busting pimps. Now, and it's sad that this is being put out there like that because it's kind of like a get out of free card for the prostitute. They are taking the prostitutes to the side and asking them, are you being held against your will? Now, this causes, like I said, a get out of jail free card. Because what person in their right mind, knowing that they could, one, not get arrested, two, not have the shame of being put out there as a prostitute, because especially in Georgia, when you get arrested, they put your face and your charge in the bad and busted books. Now, with this being said, what prostitute in her right mind is not going to play the victim role if they could get out of getting charged with prostitution, getting charged, this, that, and the third. And they are doing also a lot of stings on the dudes that are looking for prostitutes, pulling over, driving, pulling up on chicks, seeing if they want to engage in prostitution, this, that, and the third. And these dudes are getting charged with human trafficking also. So it's really like, they're really not focusing on the real human trafficking, like in the movie Taken, where somebody takes your child, or whether they're a little child or a teenager, or takes a grown person and then forces them into a life of prostitution. It seems like they're really not focusing on that. They're really focusing on getting people arrested for prostitution, this, that, and the third. A lot of these to me, is watering down the real good work that needs to be done about the situation. It's like they're not delving deep enough into the underworld of human trafficking and child trafficking and shit like that. They're not delving deep. They're just doing certain things to see, okay, we could get these people arrested for this. At the same time, we can change the narrative on how human trafficking is looked, especially in Atlanta. Well, look, check this out. In Atlanta, prostitution has ran rampant. You might have situations where women are prostituting themselves freely, and then you will also have situations where women are prostituting themselves forcefully, which is human trafficking. But Like I said in the other video, how can you be absolutely certain that, I'm not going to say good people will go to jail, but people that are really not human traffickers, that are really in the game of pimping and hoeing, how do you get these people a fair shake? Because at the end of the day, let's talk logical, not how you feel about a situation. Take your emotion out of it. If somebody is charged, whether they are committing a crime or not, they need to be charged for the right crime, not a crime that can possibly lead them into jail for the rest of their lives. If you have willing participants, it's like snitching in the 21st century without calling it snitching and giving it a different name and reformatting it. It's like all of this stuff that's been happening in the past 10 years. We have things that are being redefined and really not what they are. It's like up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left. Now, with that being said, what are the police doing to really combat real human trafficking? Not the, there's a prostitute, we're going to set up some stings, whoever gets caught, if you try to buy sex on the street, they're going to charge you as a sex trafficker or a human trafficker, so you get that charge. And they probably want to, look, in Georgia, they charge people for things so the state can get money. Let's just be honest with it. DUIs, they really don't care about MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. If you get a DUI, you're going to spend a couple of thousands of dollars to, number one, pay fines, 2, to get your license back, 3, for all sorts of programs, this, that, and the third, that, and probation that funds the state. Not saying that drunk drivers are right. If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law. But they have made it fiscally beneficial for the state for people to get charged with certain. That's why they say crime pays. Crime doesn't pay the criminal. Crime pays the state. Now, what they're doing, and you can look on social media, just don't look at things you see on social media as far as when you see somebody reposting something. Click the link. Look into what's going on. There's a post that somebody that's going around, and it's saying big human trafficking bust in Atlanta, this, that, and the third. And like I said, they're trying to switch the narrative to make black men the majority of the face of human trafficking, which I think is some bullshit. Now, when you see the original post, you see a lineup of about 15 people. Matter of fact, about 20 people. Majority of them are black men, and the rest of them were like 2 women and like a white guy and a Mexican guy. Then when you click on the link, you see that it was 2 people arrested for doing something to one person, and you think it's this big old human trafficking bust. It was like they found some teenager in the hotel with them, this, that, and the third, blah, 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 and they got charged. But subconsciously, you'll think, just like when you think anything else in the media, black negative, white positive, Mexican immigrant, shit like that. The narrative is being changed, like I said, and at this point in time, it needs to be set in stone and showed perfectly clear what are law enforcement really doing to combat sex trafficking. Because it seems like they're trying to combat prostitution and underage prostitution and calling it sex trafficking, and it's really not. There are girls out here, mainly girls and young boys, that are being kidnapped and taken off of the street. What are they doing to combat this? How can this be stopped? It seems like they're really not focusing on that. It seems like they're just focusing on prostitution. Men going out to buy prostitutes, pimps, and then the prostitutes get off the hook when they say, oh, I was taken against my will. We need to dive and delve into this a little bit more and stop looking at social media and getting emotional and look at things from a logical standpoint on how the narrative is controlled, who is the faces that they're mainly showing when it comes to these things of human trafficking and sex trafficking, and also dive into how we are going from molestation of little kids in Hollywood with the Epstein case and things like that, how the narrative is being switched from that into extreme promotion of sex trafficking media on regular TV and on social media, and see how the narrative is being changed and why it's being changed. And is this happening to get a lot of a lot of publicity off of wealthy people and bring it into a urban, rural environment of poverty to say, okay, boom, this is where it's really happening, because it's happening on a global scale, and it's happening, and especially in the United States, it's happening on a wide level. But it seems like you have powerful people doing certain shit, and then you have other people doing the same thing, and now it seems like they want to sway your view on human trafficking and sex trafficking like this, so you ignore Epstein, you ignore people like what was his name, Corey Feldman, or is it Corey Haim? The Corey that's alive, talking about there's people out here in Hollywood doing certain things, and they're ignoring this, but now they're going after prostitution or prostitutes, johns, and pimps to make it look like they're doing something about it. But at the end of the day, we need the big fish to be fried. We need the sex traffickers that are out there that are doing these things like in the movie Taken. Because you got to realize, when you see things in the movies, a lot of it is fiction, but a lot of the ideas come from real life situations. How can we engage these people and get them prosecuted and arrested for the rest of their God-forsaken lives? Again, my name is D-Rel, Rel's Rants. Went a little bit over. Like, subscribe. I want to hear your opinions on the situation, and I want you to use logic when you give a comment, not emotion. Because we're too emotional, and we're seeing things on social media, and we're going straight into our emotional bank. And we need to go into our logical bank and ask, why is this happening? How is this happening? Who's it happening to? And stuff like that. Like, share, subscribe. I appreciate your comments. Peace.